Hello and welcome to Into the Dark, the podcast right here in the OGS Network studio. My name is Brad Heath. We got a great one for you tonight. Chuk Cooley is our guest. We're going to dive into a lot of stuff with Chuk. A very interesting life, an artist, musician, a guy that's been around the block a few times, and we're going to get into a lot of topics with Chuk tonight. Before we do, though, I want to thank our sponsor tonight, the BratLegacyFilms.com people. Brat Legacy Films, go check them out. They have a documentary coming up, going to be released later this year or maybe early 2024 about the life of military brats and what those people grow up to become and do with their lives after being raised in the military. BratLegacyFilms.com, go check them out. In fact, John Schwab is an executive producer on this film. John is if you watch the Jack Ryan series, he is Director Miller, CIA Director Miller in that. So go check that out and check them out, BratLegacyFilms.com. And real quick, just some housekeeping stuff. Aaron the Baron got this to me the other day. 2022 numbers are in. We're in the top 30% of Spotify podcasts as the most shows shared globally. That's a big deal. We love our fans around the world. USA, Canada, Germany, Costa Rica, UK, those were the top five. Sweden, South Africa, Australia, Portugal, New Zealand, and Japan. Konnichiwa, Japan. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Something else, too. 53% growth in 2022. 53% on our audience, number of followers that we picked up. That's fantastic. And as always, you can find us Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your shows. Be sure and like us. Be sure and share it with your friends and share us to your social media. All right, here we go. Chuk Cooley, artist, musician, just a general badass all around.
Yeah, I try to be. There's been times I got knocked down.
So a little background here. I actually covered a event here in Oklahoma called Rocklahoma. They bring in a ton of artists, musicians, bands, and it's really a big festival. It's become one of the bigger, most popular ones in the country.
Yes,
and Chuk and his band was performing there. I got to shoot it for Twisted South magazine. Shout out to Zeke Lofton, the creator. Zeke is actually married to the daughter of Jerry Lee Lewis, who just recently passed.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Zeke.
Oh, Zeke, I know Zeke. Yeah,
Zeke got in touch with me, and he's like, "Man, let's do this thing." So I got to do a lot of cool stuff with them, and cover you at Rocklahoma, playing Rocklahoma. That was pretty cool.
That was the first year I played there.
Yeah.
But that was the second main stage. We had a whole tour set up to go through all Texas and over to Louisiana, and they 104.5 got a hold of me and said, "Hey, you want to play Rocklahoma? Are you asking that?" Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty rhetorical, isn't it?
Yeah, I play for free anyway. So,
well, let's start. Let's go back. Let's go back in time here, Chuk. I want to learn more about you, and I want our listeners to learn about you and to certainly go check out your music. We'll get to all that.
All right.
But where did you grow up, and did you come from a musically inclined childhood?
Kind of, sort of. My dad's a singer-songwriter, and he's a guitarist, and was a preacher, and because that's kind of what I do on stage in a hellish kind of way. and then my mom was a singer, and they both didn't. They learned. She was taught, and he was the 13-year-old kid back in the 40s and 50s that knew how to play.
Yeah.
And he played in his dad's band, and so he was a songwriter, and that was always what fascinated me. He would always put us to bed when he would do that. He didn't want us up because it was distracting. But I'd hear him down at the end of the hallway, wherever we lived at, and he'd be plucking away and then writing. I'd sneak down, look around the corner, and see him writing and like fighting with something, and he was trying to get it out. And sometimes, he would cry, and it was painful stuff he was releasing. And then in a few days, he would pull us out and sit us all in front of him and test the song on us. If we liked it, he would never play it again. Yeah, that's true. It's true.
You guys were the measuring stick, huh?
Yeah.
Trash that one. We're moving on to the next one.
Yeah. He was just really freaky about, I think, people he had some incidents with some famous artists. I grew up with Brooks and Dunn and Gary Busey all sitting in the house jamming with my dad, recording and stuff. And they'd always run us outside so we couldn't be in there.
Yeah.
And man, but Chris Christopherson and Christopher Cross both. He worked with them, and so I got to be around a little bit, But it was a very when I asked him to play, your hands are too small. You don't want to spend 10 years of your life in a bar, smoky bar.
Right.
He was wrong.
Yeah.
I love the big stages as much as I do those little stages. As long as there's a crowd in front of me, I'm going to play my heart out.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing. Him and my mom both had dreams to be somebody like that, but then I came along, and so and that put a stable in things for them, because back then it was a pipe dream. You might be able to make it today. It's just as hard.
Yeah.
But it's acceptable now. Mama want to be a rock star.
Right.
Go out and get you a real job.
Right.
They probably still say that, but not very often, because
Yeah.
you never know what you got in front of you.
Yeah.
So I took their dream. I felt like I kind of took their dreams away from them, because they were unhappy the whole time we were together. And so they fought constantly, and so I just felt like I'm going to learn how to play, and I'm going to go out and make their dreams come true through me.
Mm.
And then one day I did that.
Yeah.
And they were both there to witness it. And
Wow.
when I was winning my first awards, if I break down, forgive me.
No.
Because when I go back into my mind, I'm there again.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so when I won my first award, it was at Cain's. And man, they set that place up just like you're at the Grammys. Mm-hmm. It was red carpet, news networks. It was an awesome thing, because it was the first time they'd ever had the absolute best of Tulsa, and the Abbott Awards. And it was cool to win the best live and best hard rock metal band, which we weren't really. I don't know. We were four metalheads that played hard acoustic guitars.
Yeah, right.
But we weren't in the metal thing. I mean, we were, but just not in that band. It was more about music, about song and structure, and about heart, and passion.
Yeah.
And so
you can tell that from the lyrics, for sure.
Yeah, well, those are where they come from. I have no idea.
We're gonna get into that too.
So my parents, man, they were a big influence. Yes, they were. Even though they didn't get to do it a whole lot around me, and maybe that was because they didn't, that I jonesed for it so much. Yeah. It's been my number one high, is to be on stage. I'm in my element, and so that's where I need to be as much as possible.
Growing up, who did you listen to? Who kind of influenced you early on in life?
Kiss, number one. Elvis, he's number one. Then Kiss, because Elvis is, he had the manly voice.
Right.
He'd sing like sissy. He was so Black Sabbath. Of course, even Linda Ronstadt. Man, my mom listened to her a lot, so I listened to her a lot. James Taylor. The list goes on, man. It goes on, all the way up to Twisted Sister. As the years go on, Dio and anybody had a message. Pretty much. Tom Petty. I loved him.
Well, you mentioned Tom Petty. He said that the whole reason he got into music was because of Elvis. He saw Elvis.
Yeah.
And said, that's what I want to do. And that's why he got into it.
Yeah, and of course Ozzy. I don't listen to much Ozzy. I don't listen to much stuff on the radio unless my wife's listening to it. Mm-hmm. I listen to more obscure bands nowadays. So, they stay under the radar. They're there, but they're never going to be a superstar. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be right there on the top of the underground. And so that's where I kind of maintained my level. Yeah. I've had so many opportunities to go and sign, and I've been signed twice, and it was great, and it put my name around the world, which is great, because that band is controversial, and people still don't think they know what that band was about, and they still never asked us or if we were this or that. They just assumed, and we allowed that until, as my band Berserker, we got known for some crazy, from neo-Nazi call to racism, and so I have no problem talking about it, because no one's ever heard me shout any absurd thing at anybody ever.
Right.
But maybe other white people. But that band is still making their way to. It's still selling albums today. Somebody's marketing. Making for 27 years. They've now took us to vinyl, which
back to vinyl, yeah.
Which that's like getting a gold record.
Yeah.
Especially when you got somebody from Germany calling you and going, "Hey man, I know you don't know me, and I'm not going to tell you my real name, nor will you see a picture, but will you okay me putting your stuff on vinyl?" Yeah. What's my cut? He goes, well, this. And I said, no, this. He goes, all right, cool. The guy, never met him in my life, but he sent me exactly what I asked. And,
Wow.
In old Germany.
Well, it's interesting because the music biz, I mean, since it started, has always been a little shady. And it's always been one of those where if you're not really watching out for number one, somebody else is. And,
The whole Elvis story, period.
oh, yeah.
The Colonel was a con man, and just watching that new movie was really, really great. Well, I probably wouldn't have watched it if it hadn't been for Lisa Marie, rest in peace. But
Right.
she seen something, her talking about drugs, and I was reading about her son had killed himself. And he was a really bad pill, like Elvis was.
Yep.
And she said, I saw the new movie, and I wish that my son was alive so he could have seen what his grandpa went through.
Right.
Because she goes, that's the first time they ever got it close to right.
And the actor that played him
Didn't even look like him, but it's still, though, he takes you, you're there.
if you close your eyes and listen, it's pretty darn close.
He did a great job.
And he's still, I've kind of heard or read that he's still trying to get over some of that Elvis accent that he's brought out.
Especially when you see him mad, Elvis mad in that, because I'm an Elvis collector, and I've got every movie on DVD and VCR. I mean, I all the records, man. I got from the little bell at the car. What was it? The hop shoes.
Oh yeah.
I even with pictures of Elvis on that. A block of glass, ice. That I just got everything on.
You ever been to Graceland?
Yes, I have been. I've been to Sun Studios, and to see that there, I got high on that.
Yeah.
Leaving Sun Studios and hearing all that information they give you about, his first suit he wore and his guitar and his handle he wrapped in chicken wire. And you see all that stuff in the movies, but when it's right there, you're like, whoa. And then you hear his first song.
Yeah.
And that and how he managed to get recorded, how he conned that lady and lied to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To get in there and then just Sheila.
Bill Street in Memphis, amazing place, man.
Yeah, my boys Josephus and the George Jonestown Murderers they're from there, and they're one of the greatest bands around, punk rock bands, and and I always want to go over there and play. And he's like, dude, you want to come here? And you know what's strange about real quick is how he has that song In the Ghetto, and how his mansion is the only thing worth anything over there that sits right in the middle of the ghetto.
Yeah.
Isn't that trippy? I mean, that's
Yeah, and he's caught in some heat. I know, late '80s, early '90s, there were rap artists and different people that were throwing some shade his way because of how he lived his life and this, that, and the other for whatever reason. I always thought it was a little unfair.
Yeah.
His influences were mainly black artists.
Yeah, and that's all he's ever said.
Yeah.
I mean, they thought he was black when they heard what people heard him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
One thing about I don't understand all the why people can't just get along. Why they have to see through such an adolescent mind, and how these people that have those adolescent mind, how they have a voice, but everyone does.
Right.
And usually the liars are the ones on top winning.
Yeah, right. Well, did your parents, did they influence you or push you a certain direction, or did they just hands off and let you go at it?
Well, that's the part of it. They didn't really support any of that. They really didn't even know, because they kind of pushed me outside the house before I was even old enough to really do anything. I ended up in prison when I was 17 in Texas, and that was a long road of 8 years in prison, but bouncing from prison back to street back. Prison ended up being my home. Yeah. And that's where I found myself, and that's where I got educated. And I finally stopped and got my GED while I was in there. Thank God for the little old lady that was in there that pushed me to do it. And I can't remember her name, but I got that, and the doorways opened up in my mind, and I wanted to learn more, so I got into Votech trade. I got a building maintenance and small engine repair, 2 Votech trades. And then I went to college while I was in there, and I got a degree in philosophy and psychology. These 2 things are probably what have kept me out of prison for 31 years, as of just a few days ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, how I've stayed out, I watched all my friends, but one other guy I knew that we grew up, he stayed out. And he said, Chuck, you're my inspiration. I mean, he goes, you went out and did everything you said you're going to do. Not everything yet, but we're getting there. I got, I've accomplished, I've never been about money. So that's probably where I messed up. Because as you get older, you think, I need money, man, to somehow, somebody's going to have to take care of me if not.
Right.
And I've got so many things people have profited on. But I'm not really. I'm still, it's about the message, and I've got to watch this message that I've got to share with people evolve and change and grow, and I remember we used to saying for 30-some years, everything's going to be all right, and the best is yet to come. And I'm questioning behind the scenes, God, when is it going to be all right?
Right. Yeah.
And then one day, coming back from a small tour with just a solo tour with my drummer and my girl and a little groupie girl, and in the van ride on the way back after this great week of being treated like kings and queens and taken care of. We left town with $50, 2 packs of cigarettes, and a full tank, hoping that we'd make it to Dallas for the first show so we could make enough money there to make it to the next show. And we did. And as we were coming home, all of us had our pockets full. And I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then in that moment, I pulled over to the side of the road and I said, hey, this is going to be a corny moment. I couldn't even stop crying, so I had to get my shit together. And I said, y'all have been listening to me all these years say everything's going to be all right and the best is yet to come. Well, I didn't want to pass it up and tell you, it is all right.
Yeah.
We just kicked ass. The best just happened because we slayed that town.
Yeah.
And it was, now I get to live in, I don't fight with demons anymore. I don't, people have addictions or whatever. It's everything you can be addicted to, I mean, it's just learning how to manage how much you do something,
right?
And or you'll burn out on it, eventually,
sure.
and then you'll quit. But most people just never really dig. There's so many people, like just saying West Tulsa, that I know that it's sad. I know over 372 girls, literally, that have lost their children to the life of drugs or to some guy they've chased into the streets and left their kids behind.
Right.
Parents got them or DHS. 372.
Yeah.
And only 3, the ratio is just crazy. 3 out of all those girls fought to get their children back.
Wow.
That's something that's alarming to me. That's why so every girl I meet like that said, you should meet this other girl. Y'all should come bowling or something, Get together and have a color book club, Because that's the other thing is none of them can finish a page in coloring. My wife does circles around. She'll finish a whole coloring book, her focus is so on, but anyways, I'll get going on in different directions there. So
well,
sorry,
but you brought up, because the drug culture in music has also always been there, and it's almost like a prerequisite to go. Well, I've got to do this or that if I'm going to be in this band or go play this gig.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. For me, luckily, I found this way through. Most people, when they start doing meth, we'll just say, they stop growing right then. And they recluse and they pilfer through everybody's shit. And they steal and they lie and they cheat. And
makes them a different person, doesn't it?
It makes them an evil person.
Yeah.
That's a bad person.
Right.
Shady and you can't count on them for nothing. But they're going to steal from me if I let them stay at night. Because it's cold outside. And in my heart, I help everybody. We help, man. At this hotel that we live at, we work there and we help everybody. All hours of the night they're coming. We can't have a normal life.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly coming. Because now they all know about us there that will help people. And so some girls, it's the 3rd time through the door and they need a backpack full of clothes because their stuff got stolen. And it's like, you were just here. Yeah. It's the 3rd time. What happened? It got stolen last night. We just gave it to you last night,
Right.
But they have no need responsibility but to get and lose.
Yeah.
And so for me, luckily I had music that how I kept writing the line was by every gig I have in front of me, I know that I got to be clean and straight at that gig.
Yeah.
And so my grandpa told me, dude, you got to map out your future. Set those goals and then have a destiny and get there, but don't celebrate yet. You got still hard work ahead of you.
Right.
So all these years I've been playing in the Tulsa scene, and I've had some huge, massive parties that even shut down Freakers Ball one time, because ours was bigger. It was like, they're not coming, but they're over there. So, well, y'all invited over here, because I was about that. It was a competition to me, and so making sure New Year's Eve had the right amount of balloons up there that we're going to drop in confetti. We're going to shoot the crowd with, guns and confetti and stuff. It was about the excitement, and so that I had to have that. It was just, I want people to have a good time when they come to the show. I want them to be a believer. You can't believe in God, then believe in a good time, because that's up to you whether you have that or not.
Yeah.
So mapping out my future is those shows kept me straight and they kept me good for the band, and so I just stayed focused on managing my band. That was my job. But my band, they had all jobs. They go to work, And then my job was making sure that we had gigs that were as much as possible. And sometimes it pissed the band members off,
Sure.
because they would like a break, but
Right.
you're getting a break. This is a break.
Right.
You get to just show up and be a rock star. I'm working my ass off, and to me, I never felt like when people talk back about a lot of the parties and stuff that we used to have, the big shows. They're like, "Oh, those are the good old days." I'm saying, I haven't lived those yet. I'm sorry. I mean, that might have been your good old days, but those are just days I worked.
Yeah.
Because I had to make sure every bartender was happy, the owner was happy of the club, and then all the bands I bring from out of town, because I always bring Texas and regional bands.
Yeah.
And in fact, most of those regional bands today are now killing it and are touring Europe and stuff, like Thunder Rosa, Whiskey Dick, Federation of Horsepower, The Heroin. These are all, I hear, Southern bands that are just killing it. And,
with original music
and I'm jealous.
Original sound.
Original music. The Heroin, if you've never checked them out, man, I advise anybody to. They won they took second place at the Motley Crue Battle of the Bands in L.A. They're from San Antonio. They call them the Kings of San Antonio too. But the Heroin is not the drug, but it's the female hero. And these four Mexicans, Chicanos, and a white boy, tear the stage up. They are, I call them the gospel, the gospel of rock and roll.
Yeah.
The singer is, he entertains you like, James Brown kind of Charlie Manson looking guy who just, he's got the pipes and the vocals, and then he is a believer in God. But you won't know that right at first, because you think he's just a crazy party and dude that might kill you later because he's crazy looking.
Right.
But he dances and slides across and does all those old school dances and crazy shit with his microphone stand. I mean, man, and the band is just so full with energy, and it's rock and roll. It's Texas fueled rock and roll. I'm from Texas, so that's Odessa, Texas, where I'm from. So.
Oh out west.
The desert, I remember I had to tell you that we were touring Texas. We just wouldn't get hit by South by Southwest. We played the ROT Rally, which is the Republican Texas Biker Rally, which is one of the biggest rallies. Why is not more known, I have no idea, because it's bigger, just as big, if not bigger, than Sturgis. And it's downtown Austin. You'll see every kind of biker club there is, from the fat gay girl biker club to the skinny black guy. They're all down there.
Everybody gets along.
They all, man, it all gets along. And it's hot though, but that's why they tear down the walls. And if you've ever been down to 6th Street, Texas, their front walls drop off the front of the bars, and so they open up to the streets. Or the breeze, and because it gets hot down there, man.
Oh yeah,
it's like
Texas is hot.
Yeah.
I got family in Texas. I've had family in Texas the whole life.
I remember when we went to my hometown. It'd been like 15 years since I've been there, maybe 20, and so we're going to my hometown. Finally, return there, and they're going to get to see me as a musician. I'm one of the guys that got away from Odessa, because that's the whole deal there, is to get out of that town. To get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I've had a friend who was from Odessa, John Carver. John ended up becoming he and I we went to high school together in Arlington, and he and I were, skater punks in high school, and he ends up becoming a corrections officer in Amarillo, and he does 20 years with them up there, and recently retired. But
I hate Amarillo. Sorry.
Oh man, that whole Panhandle and west side of Texas, man.
No alcohol. They're all the alcohol's sold out of town.
Oh yeah. Well, it's almost like hell on earth sometimes. It's so hot over there.
And the dust devils and shit.
Right.
Yeah, watching that sandstorm is a trip too, man. It's like it's a whole nother life there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like they always said in prison. This is a whole different world in there. So the things that go on outside, your beliefs may be out there. You might want to just leave them at the door,
right?
Because things are going to change you in here.
Yep.
And so and it's so true. So then when you get out of prison, you're just a whole different monster.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It does create a different person, doesn't it?
Yeah. Especially, just you're dealing with egos every day in there, and ego. To me, ego is something that you earn, and that's what when Tulsa gave me the biggest ego award, and I beat the mayor for it. That says something.
Yeah.
I went from a guy that was like, oh, I'm just a loser, I'm a piece of shit, I'm gonna kill myself if you don't love me, that kind of guy, to I'm the baddest motherfucker in this town.
Right.
I am the 8-time champion, 16-time nominated, Booker T or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how I voted. Any award I got, I added it to why you should come see me.
Yeah.
Me and my band, and though I'm playing. I'm thinking, God, we suck. We could be better. We could be better. And now I go back and watch all the videos. I'm like, oh my God, why couldn't I have just relaxed?
But isn't that what great artists do anyway? There's always room for improvement,
yeah,
right? It could always be better.
Yeah, and now I just want a band. And as you get older, the younger guys aren't looking at you. They don't give a damn where you've been. They have no respect for you. You know? It's kind of weird. This is something I have about music. Is that we grew up with cassettes and 8 tracks and vinyl, which had the soul of music in it.
Absolutely.
Until they made it digital, and that butchered the soul right out of it. Because digital music is square blocks of information, and they can put anything within those blocks.
Right.
With brainwashing, whatever. We got plenty of conspiracies, but I believe that they have desensitized us so much that we don't even care whether there's any soul. Thank you. Any soul in the music anymore, and that's why if you try to talk to teenagers today. I mean, maybe it's always been that way. You can't really have a conversation with them because they're talking a different language. But now they don't even care what you have to say. I mean, I've had 5 kids, and thank God they grew up with hearts and souls and strong. And all 5 of them were just killer kids. Yeah. And 3 of them are musicians, and I do photography and also journalism. I've written for a bunch of magazines, and my daughters, they do that at the end of it. So all of them have me in them, so you can't look at them and go, that's not Cooley right there. So and they're all beautiful, and I'm proud of them, man. They have not needed me. I'm like, hey, you need me for anything? Like, no, Dad, we got it. What the hell, man?
Yeah. Well,
can I just not be your dad now because I'm home?
I mean, look, I've got 3 of my own, and they always tell you when you're growing up and you're giving your parents shit, they always tell you, you just wait because one day you're going to have kids and you're going to get it tenfold. I'm going to tell you that's bullshit. Because my 3 kids didn't give me half as many headaches as I gave my parents. That's the truth.
That's just you spoil your kids, and our parents couldn't spoil us.
You're probably right.
We got our spoiled was getting a belt to the ass.
Yeah. Well, my old man, he passed away a few years ago, but I mean, he was a hard charger. I mean, he was like an axe murderer running around, and you look, I get all of my stuff from my mother's side. She was like 5 foot and,
he sees that, huh?
and he's almost, 6'2", 230 and a Marine and all of those things and that come with that. And he was,
he was probably in Vietnam. So
first to fight, he was just, he was always wound up and ready to go. If you wanted to go, he'd go.
That's how my dad was. Yeah, my dad was. He always reminded me of Clint Eastwood because he kind of looks like him. So, and Amber Which Way We Lose. My dad was like, "You want to fight, boy? Come on outside." And I was like, "No." Why are you taking your weapon off the belt? I always thought it was weird how there's a grown man in front of me with a weapon wanting to beat me. Like, yeah.
Here's my musical connection, I guess. My grandfather, his father, World War II vet, USS Enterprise, United States Navy, gets out, goes to work for E-Systems in Greenville, Texas, and starts a bluegrass radio show at University of East Texas in Commerce.
They just came out of nowhere, didn't it?
The Dave Heath Bluegrass Special. And he did this show for years, and he would put on festivals. He put on festivals in Hugo, and I mean just all over this region. And that's kind of what my dad was raised on, was that type of music. So when I was a kid, it was always bluegrass and the older country and the outlaw country and all that kind of stuff. But he also loved rock and roll and bands like ZZ Top and people like that. So we always had, that kind of music in the house. And I was always interested in music, not an ounce of talent for it though. I mean, I couldn't pick up a guitar and play it if you gave me 20 lessons. I mean, I'm always amazed at guys like you who go through that process to learn.
What's crazy is I'm like, they said Elvis couldn't play, but obviously he could play piano, and he wrote a lot of his lyrics. He wrote a lot of his songs, which I didn't know that until here recently. But I know how to play only because of my dad and watching him. He's my hero, and still to this day. I mean, I haven't seen him in 30 years, but we talk. And when I hear him, I can be so mad about something or upset, and I call him, and here he is in Georgia, and he's like, "Son, it's just that." And he knows right where I'm at and what to say. And he's the voice that's a phone call away, And he's, though I don't get to see my dream I have a couple of little dreams in my life, and one of them is to just sit with him in a room and play with him finally, because we've never got to play together. He's only seen me perform one time, and besides what he sees on TV or on the internet. So, I mean, I specifically have the Tulsa the live stream here. They that goes worldwide. So I specifically booked shows on there just so he can see me play.
Right.
And he'll tell me afterwards, "Oh yeah, it was great. It was great." I was just, well, what about this? He'll question me. It's like he knows what right to say. Keep the ego big.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you from experience. Having lost a father. You almost don't want to accept the reins of being, the next guy up, because the dad is always up here, and you always feel like you're several steps below that.
Always underneath him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when they're no longer there, it's like, okay, now I'm next, basically. I'm the guy now. But it's great that you can still reach out to him.
Yeah, and my mom's the same way. She lives in Eureka Springs, and so my family, we're not, my brothers and sisters, we're all not real close, but we still have whatever respect and love for each other.
Well, family's what you make it, right? I mean, you can have family members that aren't blood relatives.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's never met my grandkids, and so I was getting ready to go to Nashville here just recently, and I had an opportunity to go over there. And as you get fatter and older, your opportunities get really slim. And even as I used to play 4 to 5 times a week, and now I play once every couple of months. That's at least around here. Tulsa's probably burnt out. I haven't had a crowd in front of me in Tulsa in over 12 years till just the other night on my birthday bash for the first time. It was a great night, and the bands I had come play for me and with me, it was like. It was just great. It was awesome. Yeah. I mean, I needed that in Tulsa because everywhere else I go, we got a crowd, and I can, whether I'm solo or with a band. People like it with a band, of course, but you come see my solo show, it's completely all passion. I mean, I hate it because I have to play guitar constantly the whole time. I want to entertain, and so I can't. And I could get another guitar player, but I've had some of the badass guitar players that it's kind of hard to replace some of these guys because they're so good at what they do, and taking lesser is just like cheating yourself. So I don't want to blame someone else for not being good enough. So my wife, she stepped up to the plate and never played in a band in her life, and she watches me. She knows all my songs better than I do. She knows all my lyrics. I have to look at her and say, what's my songs? What's the lyrics to the next one? She'll tell me. But she gets out. She grabbed a harmonica one day and just started playing with me. I'm like, in the Tom Petty kind of fashion, real simple, sweet. And I was like, you're never going to be good enough to, play with me. And so we're down in Texas, and it's a big show at one of the big Fort Worth clubs there, and we got Whiskey Dick with us, and Hillbilly Orchestra, and Dank. These 3 bands are like legendary in Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I said, look, I'll let you get up on stage and play that Faster Pussycat song, House of Pain. If you pull it off and you can make that guy from Whiskey Dick come down here and say something to you afterwards, you can stay on stage with me from now on. I'll be damned if he comes up crying to the stage. I've never seen a female harmonica player. Come to find out, there's only like 8 in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, and 4 of them we just found. So forever we thought she was the only one. Everywhere we go, does anybody know? Everywhere we played, and no one knew. Never. So it was a cool little. What gimmick that we have.
Right.
She sings backup with me too, and she plays percussion. And she never did any of that before, but now she just in a year's time. Well, it's been a few years now, but within a year of just hanging out with me, she was the only one that would jam with me for a while.
I think Flogging Molly has a female accordion player.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. I've never seen that either. Yeah.
Right. Well, I saw them at Cain's, and I was.
They're badass too. I
was impressed. Yeah. It was great.
Are they even together anymore?
I think so. It seems like every year around St. Patrick's Day, I see that they're playing somewhere.
It's like the Misfits. They only played on Halloween.
Yeah. And I think the original lineup just played in Dallas. Did they not, or is that coming up?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think the original lineup's actually getting back together.
There's so many bands out there today, man, and it's like you staying down in Austin. There's so many killer bands there, and by the way, that's where a lot of people all those bands like MOD, Method of Destruction, or Junkyard, or Little Caesar, or Dangerous Toys. These are all bands that made it right up to the radio, and they were had some songs, but they never sold out completely and went to, as poison or whatever.
Right.
You know, and so all those guys are from all over the U.S. They all go to Austin because down there they have a union. They have attorneys strictly for musicians.
Wow.
But yet none of them know about each other's new band.
Yeah.
There's so many bands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how could you not know about this band over here? They all are like in the same town. Right. You play on the same block.
Right.
How could you not? Because there's so many. When I played South by Southwest, and I realized it. If you go to a cover band show here in Tulsa, you'll see like Sweating Bullets. They pack it out almost every fucking time.
Yeah.
Every time they'll be packed out. And but the crowds, all these people that they grew up with and went to high school with still. So every weekend when people get to go out, they go back to high school. You know, and they're in that moment where they're playing a house party, and the people are just talking and hanging and they're dancing and they're having a good time, but they're not paying attention to the band because they've heard those songs 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And they're on the way to work in the morning, at lunch, and on the way home. Yeah. And then, all right, let's go to the bar. And then those songs are being played again. So they're being conditioned to hear the same stuff. Well, you come to one of our shows, you've never heard of all these songs before, but I'm going to tell you a little story about them right before. So now you have an idea what this song's about. So if that story related to you, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Along with the incense that I'm burning, that's kind of brainwashing you, because you don't, there's nothing worse than having guys that show up to your show that want to fight, and all because they're pissed off at their boss, so their family life isn't going their way.
You know how to chill them out.
Yeah. Well, take 10 people and walk them through, send them into Starship. They'll all come out with the same look on their face. I think I'm going to get high, or something, because they're happy. Because Starship conditions you when you walk in there. You're in a record shop. The coolest one on the planet, by the way. Yeah. And it's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's the coolest record shop ever. Yeah. The old one was really cool, but I love the new space.
Yeah, they needed a new space.
And they got those guys Brian in there and all that Brad and all those people that you've seen all these years. And they don't age. So it must be the vinyl. They rub it on their skin or something.
Well, Tulsa's always been pretty unique for music venues. For you mentioned Starship. I know a couple of new ones. Josie Records, Boulevard Trash here in Tulsa.
Yeah, I was wondering about this place. I've seen the titles up for places, but I don't get it out much anymore. So
well, Boulevard Trash is really interesting. They have a lot of vinyl. A lot of it is more punk, alternative kind of stuff.
That's awesome too.
Which is right up my alley. But they sell all kinds of shirts. Shirts, action figures.
The merchandise,
yeah. I mean, they got all kinds of stuff in there.
You should come there.
But there's nothing like Starship. I mean,
there's not. I have people that come through, the bands that come through. Like I give them a place to stay. I make sure they're fed, make sure they make some money, and they make sure they have a crowd in front of them. Well, I haven't been doing that a lot lately, but all the bands that I did up till 10 years ago, every one of them I'd take my Starship. Dude, every single one of them, would freak out. Like, where does it? What? We need to make a place like this home. And so this band called Archie Bunker, they loved it so much they went home and made an Archie's Rock Shop because they partied with all the stars and everybody. So they have you have a Pantera poster. And usually, maybe you have one signature on it. Not them, because they know those guys. They're like, sign that shit now,
Right,
so they got all 4 signatures, and they got them framed for you, and you can go buy this signed that and they can tell you a story behind it. Luckily, I had all that too. I got influenced by them. I was wanting to do that too. So until last Thanksgiving, some crooks broke into our storage unit and got me for 27 years of swag. I mean, I had Offspring's towels, Mighty Boston's old shoes. I had all kinds
of museum in there.
Yeah, well, you come to our hotel room, people freak out when they walk in there.
Well,
it's like that.
You mentioned Pantera; they're headlining Rocklahoma.
I saw that, and but a lot of people, I don't understand the whole. I mean, I know Dimebag. I played his club twice. Mm-hmm. The only band outside the state of Texas to ever play Dimebag's club because he was all about his local scene.
Right.
And but I'd helped so many bands from down there in DFW that they asked to have me on, and being I was from Texas, that helped too. Yeah. And so I got to meet him and hang out with him, and he was. You want to hang out with this rock star, which he was, but he gets you right. He's down on your level. He's a fan too, you know. And so he was like, they used to have that saying, "What would Jesus do?" I always say, "What would Dimebag do?" Yeah. Because Dimebag, he would be, let's be a jackass about this. Let's have a good time. Let's get tore up, you know.
Right.
And so I knew his, I got to play the Tattoo Bar, which is one of the coolest things ever. It's just a shotgun bar, but man, they had the best sound, man. They had when you played there, if you weren't good, they would know it.
Yeah.
And so to have those guys all walk out in the middle of our set, the second time we got invited back, was like intimidating. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Because they all walked out and they stood like this on the back, staring at us, and I was like, "Oh, they're here, guys."
Right.
Like a little kid,
Right.
And then they, it was pretty cool. The whole thing though with everything that's going on right now with them, people don't think they should use the name. And well, that's two of the original members,
Right.
and they got two guys that grew up. They all grew up in the music business together.
Yes.
And if anybody truly knew Dime, they would know that he's up there like drinking, black juice, going, "This is awesome! I don't even have to play."
I swear, in like 88 or 89, I went to a house party in Arlington, Texas, and they played.
That's where he's from.
I'm
That's probably your.
I'm almost 100% that's who that was at that time.
Probably with Phil, the other guy singing.
But being just a dumb teenager, I wasn't I wasn't really in tune with what was going on. I was too concerned about chasing the girls.
And probably everyone else was like that too.
Yeah,
it's just a cool band, local band,
Right.
When they were glam, probably still then.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, the first singer. Yeah.
Let's talk about the mantra of fist raised high.
Oh wow, that has grown, hasn't it? Because everybody say it. And it's the way I spell it too. Because a lot of people always English majors or something after my ass. That's not how you spell raise. Even my dad, he's like
English teachers.
Yeah, my dad was even son. That's not how you spell raise. What that means is like a rocket ship taking off. Exactly. What happens when Rocky wins a match or any champion conquers a mountain?
Yeah.
They stick their hands up as a
their,
champion. That's what a champion looks like.
Yep.
So when you raise your fist high, it means you're a champion in life.
You're on top.
Or you just got your ass knocked out, and the one thing you want them to know is, I'm not down for the count yet. And so the first thing that comes up is your fist from your back.
Well, they cart somebody off the football field. That's what they do.
And it has a strong thing. I never thought of it like that, but it has a strong thing. And for a long time, people thought because I was in this band, Berserker, they thought that was some kind of racist thing. I'm like, no, man, it's just a universal thing. I sing soulful enough to know that, I grew up, I went to Central High School when I moved up here from Texas, and I grew up, all my friends were blacks. And I even hate saying the word color, any color, because as long as they keep color involved in the conversation, then it's racist.
Yeah.
From both parts, haters hating haters, and stuff. So,
Sure.
anyways, so the fist raised high, man, it's kind of spawned from all that kind of stuff. But it's mostly for, if you're a winner, then you're gonna relate. Yeah. And so I say fist raised high, saluting you, or fist raised high till the day I die, and because that's just part of. I got it, and also professional wrestling. I was involved in that stuff, and. Those guys go out there. Those are some legitimate tough guys. They give you a show, getting beat the hell up. And a lot of them guys can probably win every night. But what do? They take beatings by guys that are lesser. And they come back out with no ego change to nothing.
Yeah.
It's like as if they didn't lose.
Yeah.
To me, that's the keep on keeping on, fist raised high kind of. And so I look at things as sometimes you're going to be the bad guy, or sometimes you're going to be the good guy.
I've got an uncle that promoted wrestling in Texas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Jason Heath. Yeah. He was a promoter down there, did a lot of shows. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, that whole mantra is really something that I think, whether you wanted to or not, it's latched onto you. And
I just have these quotes that I say kind of like wrestlers do, and I kind of mix those two worlds together, and which they, Stone Cold kind of did that with Black Label Society. That's when they brought those metal bands on over. Now you see them; they're all through it. So and it's awesome.
Let's talk about. I'm going to bring somebody up here to you because I know she's special to you as well. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this young lady right here.
Oh yes, Kimberly. I'm about to cry.
Kimberly Freeman from One Eyed Doll.
I
actually interviewed her for Twisted South magazine, and she has an incredible story.
Oh, her story
is right there.
Yeah, she is awesome. She did something for me. We both in the same year at the same time won 7 awards for our for what we do in music and video.
Right.
And she she's a amazing person. I mean, she left her toothbrush at my house, and we put it in a glass box.
Part of that museum
I think
collection.
It was an old sock and everything. Yeah. But she, totally different person off stage. Yet the same.
Sure.
But when she's at your house, she's so relaxed and so cool. When you see her on stage, you think she's going to be really tall. When you meet her the first time, and she's not. She's just a little bit. But you go over with a big reach,
Yeah,
and she's doing it, man, her way. And she did something for me that it woke up a lot of bigger rock stars. I had cancer, tumor in my brain, and I had 9 months left to live. And she, along with, Gypsy and Jeff Beam, these two guys from Texas and Oklahoma, here, my manager and best friend, and my brother in Texas. They took these two big benefits and they raised, oh my God. If you ever thought about what your funeral might look like with people there, I know that my haters are going to be there. And so, and I love them too, because without them, they keep my name going.
They push you too.
Well, it's not my fame; it's their fame for me.
Yeah.
Once they stop talking, then I'm no longer famous. So,
right.
so I keep giving them reasons.
Just
tell them the truth, and boy, they run with that. Man, it's crazy. So, with her, Kimberly, she had just released her solo CD, and she gave like a massive amount of it. The people went and downloaded it and got a percentage of that, like near $1,000 or so. She threw it over into the pile, and man, it opened up a lot of cats that I really dig her. They got turned on about me through her will to help me, and so they helped out. Here I am, and now I got heroes, coming to my door and helping me. So, Rex Brown from Pantera, Dax Riggs from Acid Bath. These are bands that are well known. My number one hero guitar player is Big Chris Gates from Junkyard, and to have him call me up one day, hey, this is Big Chris Gates, I was like, I hung up on him. Mr. Cooley, this is
right.
He called back, just like the Rockstar movie. I was like, hey, they got that from my life, because he calls me back, Mr. Cooley, this is serious business right here. I don't like to waste my time like this. You're not gonna take me serious. He got on to me. About 15 hours later, he's standing right there in my storage unit with me.
Well, it's not surprising because people like Kimberly Freeman, if you know anything about her story and what she went through as a child.
And she is that. There's that level of her. If she looks crazy and she sounds crazy, because she is. She don't think she's not that person that she's been on stage. That's just the little girl and the psycho mixed together, and she knows how to channel that in a creative way to rid herself of those demons.
Absolutely, she knows when and how to turn it off and on. And
yeah,
when I got an opportunity,
it took a while. It took a while for her.
Sure, and well,
Austin's got some crazy stories about her.
Oh, I bet.
That's what makes her so her, though.
Yeah, but it's not surprising to me that she was so willing to help out.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. She and every now and then we'll touch base. Hey, what's up? But she's like, I don't know what's up with her now. I don't think one of Adele's together anymore.
No, they're not.
Yeah. But I don't know what she's doing. But I hope whatever she's doing, it's. Well, that's cool. I didn't see that one coming. You kind of sucker punched me.
I did.
It was a good sucker punch.
I set you up with that one.
Yeah, because that woman there, man, I love her very much. And I mean, I love all women, but she's one of those ones that took a stand, and made a difference.
Yeah.
And she saved my life, and I'm alive 12 years here still.
When you get that diagnosis, where do you go mentally with that?
Well, okay, you have to understand something. Most of my life I lived for self-destruction. I was addicted to self-destruction, not drugs or anything else, but to killing myself. And when you find that a couple of times and then that doesn't pan out, I just died 3 times, 3 ODs. And then, I cut my wrist on the side of a highway in front of a girl that didn't barely know me. And a motorcycle cop and her saved my life. Why is this happening to me, goddamn?
Right.
And so, I just want to get the hell out of here. I don't care where I go, as long as it's not here, because I don't want to look at anybody with a heart. Because you don't find that. People are too scared to show that. So then there's people like her that come along and change that. But and Gypsy and one of my very best friends. There's people that, and they're far and in between. But at the time, I was very unhappy when I got diagnosed with it, and they wouldn't help me. You have to have some kind of insurance to get that kind of thing taken out of your head. You got to have money. So I just started finding happiness. And my band, the Demon Hammers, Chuk Cooley and the Demon Hammers came around, and I started finding freedom. And as I started making videos, I got to, have these actors come in and act out my life. And so they would ask, hey, we'll do this beat shot before the actor gets here. Work up that rig thing, do that thing with the needle and the spoon. I'm like, Are you crazy if I do that? After you leave, I'm going to be looking for some.
Yeah.
He said, Chuck, quit being a pussy and just do it. Titus Jackson, he's a well-known filmmaker around here. He's won his share awards too. Great man. He said, just do it. Quit being a pussy. You quit. You said you quit, right? Well, yeah. You don't know how hard that was. But as I'm doing that, and he's filming it, I'm realizing I'm sharing my story with the world, not just now through this actor trying to act like me, which he did a great job. Rob Harris is his name. But freedom came from it, and so the next 8 years of my life, 5 of it, I carried this tumor, and one doctor said it was a figment of my imagination. This big softball tumor that gave me a headache if I tried to lay on my back for 3 years.
Yeah.
It was bigger and bigger, it kept getting bigger, and it was coming out of my brain. And so if I had been unhappy and I had died, I wouldn't know any difference. But as I found happiness, and they were denying me, I just thought, man, at least I'm going to die happy. That's all I could think about it. Yeah. Until the blood, you're spitting up blood every morning and after every show, and that's how people found out about it. It was after a show, like you would get, it had created a tail that went down. It looked like a baby alien that they pulled out of my head.
Yeah.
I had to cut the tail off. It went down. It grew this thing around my spine, so it was like I couldn't grip my hands completely. I still can barely grip this one, but when I would play, it felt like razors cutting through my fingers. Wow. So 45 minutes on stage, I'm grueling through pain, and then afterwards I'm rushing from the reliving the story every night over and over. Yeah. And so I was finding myself in the bathroom just blood, and then one night it got to the point where, well, my manager came in and said, "What the hell? This place is covered in your fucking vomit and blood. What the hell's wrong with you?" And I said, grabbed his hand and stuck it on the back of my head. He's like, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "It's a tumor, dude, and I'm dying. I got so long left to live." It's funny, when they told me, "You have 9 months left to live," I thought, that's what it took to get me into the world.
Yeah. That's what it's going to take to get you out.
Yeah, 9 months. In some kind of weird womb,
Wow.
But they saved me. Yeah. The day that I was coming out of the hospital, a lot of people thought, I've done more benefits than anybody I know, okay? Just in 2011, I did 115 benefits. That's 115 times I played for free. Over half those benefits I helped put together, and along with the Animal Twin benefit, which I did all the work on that one. And
I remember that.
And you're talking about 37 bands, 2 stages, and then 29 pro wrestlers, 19 porta potties, vendors, and all that. And then luckily for the Rose Bowl place, they'd burned down twice and had come back.
Yep.
And I seen how many people cared about that damn place. And my life growing up at the Admiral Twin was the only time my parents ever got along. When we went there, they got along with other people.
At the drive-in.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Admiral Twin is a drive-in movie theater, a 2-sided drive-in movie theater.
Yeah, and it's only one of 5 that's still in working in the nation. Plus, they made the Outsiders movie there, and we can get into that. I got a great story about the Outsiders.
I'll get you started on film.
Yeah, I do. I love making film. I have my own film company, and that's what I do when I'm not doing music. That's what I pretty much do.
I do too. I just finished Res Dogs this year. That's my location right there for Res Dogs.
We'll have to talk. We definitely talk. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about this because that's what I'm. As I've gotten older, I love music and I love being able to put my music to film and I'm making all these bands from Oklahoma City. There's 19 of them now. I've made music videos and documentaries for, and why I don't do it for Tulsa, I don't know. Tulsa just doesn't seem to. I don't know that for some reason the music scene here is at this place where there's all these bands here. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember we're starting out in this town. There was only 9 original bands. Yeah. I can tell you all of them right now. Right. And it's crazy because now the last time I saw a count, there was like up to 4,000 bands. 4,000? Are you crazy? And then I saw the Tulsa Music Awards. All these bands winning all these awards. I'm thinking, where did they play at?
Right.
Where did they? When did they come around? Have I been gone that long? Yeah, right. I mean, because I would know about some special band out there. Because the bands that are special, I keep touch tags with them.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but so I bring all these Oklahoma City bands over because Oklahoma City treat me like they are just awesome to me.
Yeah.
And the people over there, the biker community and the heavy metal community, I do my acoustic guitar thing. And I fit into both places, and they love that. And I love them. They have treated me the way I think Tulsa should, but Tulsa's bitter with me because I walked away from it all right at the top. Mm-hmm. And I left this scene that I helped build. I didn't build it. I just know how. Look at all the scenes from Seattle to L.A. to Dallas to Nashville. They all have these scenes. Why? Because their musicians locally support each other. Mm. If this guy in this band breaks his arm on a skateboard fall. Well, this band over here, they know their song so well that this guy can step in for them. That's what Dallas Fort Worth area. The Fort Worth scene was. They were all down. Every one of those band members could get up at any time, show up, and they'll get them up and play one of their songs.
Yeah.
That's called being. That's a scene.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
You got to be family. And all whether you like the band or not, if they're playing original music, man, they could be the worst band. I want to watch them over a cover band any day. And I'm not ragging on cover bands, because to me that's a scary place to be. If you're an original band, you have to sell out. Is what I call it, to play covers. Yeah. But I have some great friends in this town that have done that, and I love them and I support them no matter what. I hate thinking of giving up playing original music. I'm already scared as I get older. Will I have something to say? Well, because you see a lot of cats that. They just keep playing the same stuff. You never see no new stuff. And then a lot of people won't let them. Like Bruce Springsteen, they don't care about anything new from him. Especially if he changes styles. Yeah. And he did that here recently. And I saw him on Howard Stern. And I cried the whole time. I've never been a big fan of his, Bruce Springsteen. But then when you're hearing his backstory, like Tom Petty's backstory, how they got signed. Tom Petty signed right here in Tulsa. They had just happened to have a little bitty office here in Tulsa, and they recorded their first stuff right here in Tulsa, which is awesome. It's like but Bruce Springsteen, man, when you hear where his songs come from and how he wrote them and how he got signed, and it's a beautiful story. Yeah. Why they haven't made a movie, I don't know.
Yeah, probably because somebody like Howard Stern owns the rights and they're just hanging on to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Howard Stern has allowed a lot of like Sammy Hagar. He's brought all these cats on there. And let them tell their story in a way that they've never got to. Yeah. So they don't have to play the whole song, but they play most of it.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, you may or may not like this. I'm not a huge Aerosmith fan.
Neither am
I respect them, but I'm just not a huge fan. But to hear Steven Tyler's story of when they were recording Sweet Emotion, that maraca sound in the beginning is actually a packet of sugar.
Oh no!
They forgot the maracas on the way to the studio. You look down, there's a sugar packet in the guitar case. He picked it up,
and being that he's a drummer, and that's why he is number one first. Yeah.
And he's got a connection to Tulsa.
Oh yeah, his wife. Yeah. I swear, we had my last kid at. His name is Wisdom, by the way. And so where we had him at, Stephen, that's where one of his daughters or something. Or somebody, they had their kids there, and he was there. Oh, and when we were in the hospital, I was like, "Is that Steven Tyler? Holy shit, he's an ugly little old lady."
They give him shit now because he looks like he's a 70-year-old woman.
Yeah, he does, he does. Yeah,
bless his heart.
Yeah. Well, he deserves it. So.
I did. One thing about Tulsa though is we do get some pretty good acts that do come through this town. I know we're one of those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday locations, but
I played all days, and
I saw the Dead Boys. I mean,
are they coming?
No, they played like I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's crazy, isn't it?
They played the Shrine. Cheetah Chrome. That's
the main dude. Yeah,
that's the main guy. That's everybody else is new, different.
All the rest of them are OD.
But it's still the Dead Boys. It's still guys that played CBGBs.
So that's what they should say about Pantera, and there's not. There's a big battle. I have one of the biggest groups on that I started. It's the Dimebag, world fan base. I started, and there's over 10,000 strong on it, man. And so I decided to do a chat, on there, and I invited everybody. I was like, "What was your favorite thing about Pantera?" Yeah, dude. It's still going. The conversation is still. We can get on it right now. I'm constantly dinging. I was like, I can't even get one of my own band conversations to sound that long. So then I asked, what do you think about the new Pantera? They did not like me putting new. Yeah. These people are really, really judgmental. It's
interesting because fans of music, they get into their camps, and it's tough to get. It's either
when did heavy metal become such a place of judgmental people when we were the ones being judged for so long?
Right. Well, it's like the old. It's Van Halen, not Van Hagar kind of stuff. Yeah, it's all of that.
Yeah, I love Hagar no matter what. So he's a party. That guy, no matter where he's at, he's having a good time.
It seems like everything he touches is gold.
There you go. Yeah,
and he's David, doing something right.
Poor David just doesn't have nothing going on, except that he looks like Steve Martin.
Well, and he and I think
about that.
He did a Joe Rogan show, and I think he said he worked as a paramedic in New York for a while.
Wow, I didn't.
He was like up in New York, like in New York City.
After Van Halen's?
Yeah, just like being a paramedic, and he'd go on calls, And the
Like,
person's
like,
laying there going, "Aren't you David Lee Roth?"
could you sign my heart before I die?
Right.
like Steven Seagal when he was doing the sheriff thing.
Oh yeah. Could
People
you
are like, I'm
imagine?
getting arrested
Jeez.
by Steven Seagal.
Right.
The most
Well,
biggest.
Shaquille O'Neal did it too. I mean, he was
I never
he was a
knew that.
reserve officer for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I don't think I love Shaq. I love everything about him. His height and everything. But I'm just real. My interest is in it with him is with the Illuminati and his whole thing with that. Because Illuminati is a very real thing.
yeah.
And if you're trying to get your music, say today, published or with getting your serial numbers for each song and all that stuff and
Right.
getting it on there, it used to be another place you went to, but now it's through Illuminati
Yeah.
publishing.
So is it so? Since you brought it up, let's go down this rabbit hole for a second.
Okay, cool.
Is because back in the day when the Illuminati was, I don't know, say 100 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It was decision makers in world politics. It was big money,
Yeah.
oil companies.
And everyone thought they knew what it was about, and they still don't. But they think it's a religion, but it's not.
But why would why would it shift into pop culture and music and things like that?
Because their main quote is the betterment of the human species.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for people that influence other people to do good.
Mm.
That's what they've told me, and I'm interested, but I've never been about selling myself out. I've had 5 record company guys sitting in front of me at Denny's, and they're all rah, 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 and I have one question for them, and that's: are you going to take my talent and make it what you want it to be, or erase what I am? And all 5 of them, yeah, pretty much. But that's what getting signed is about. You still have a little bit of you there. No, I don't think I want to sell. I did this because my dad was an influence on me, but because God told me this is how I'm going to right my wrongs. There comes a point to when have you wrote your wrongs? And what are your dreams other than you doing your parents' dreams? Luckily for me, they're the same dream.
Yeah.
I want to rock the world with a message.
So is it a battle of good and evil?
I think so. I do. Because see, I've learned this. God gave me this gift of music, right? And I'm a Christian. Okay, I'm not. I'm an honest sinner, is what I call myself.
We're all sinners. I agree.
Yeah. And as long as you're honest about own your lie. If you're gonna lie, be a good liar. Be to let everybody know, and then they'll have to figure out whether you're telling the truth or lying. I mean, I lied as a kid growing up because I thought my stories weren't good enough for other people to hear, so I used to tell other people's stories and share it until one day I heard this dude doing the same thing. I'm like, that motherfucker got my idea. That's my idea. And so me and him got in a fight.
Yeah.
And that day I was fighting myself. And then after that, my mom said, Chuck, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to be an asshole, and you're going to have to learn how to lie better. And I thought about it, Mom, if that's what they look like, is you saying that right now? I don't want to be a liar. So I remember the first day I tried not lying.
Yeah.
There needs to be Liars Anonymous over all things, because it's the biggest addiction on this planet is people lying.
Because it begets another one and another one and another one.
Yeah.
It's an endless circle.
Yeah, and at the end of it, you have no clue who you are still. Yeah. You're everyone else but you.
But that's the problem, right? Is that we live in a humongous lie every day. Yeah. I mean, we're lied to by advertisers, by media, by news, by
constantly.
Everybody.
Well, that's the thing, is they only say 1%. 1% people carry the truth. And so I knew that they said 3% get clean from meth, and the rest will never be clean. You'll have ups and downs, and I believe that totally. Actually, I heard now it's just 2%. They've changed that.
Wow.
That people ever really get clean from meth. I know so many people. I mean, my world is much bigger than most people's. In fact, right now I'm being held up for the Guinness Book of World Records, true story, of the only individual to take more pictures with 4 or more people within the picture. So I was just having to be collected.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but dude, I was collecting all these pictures. I wanted people to see. If I don't get back to you right off, please. I mean, if you want me to get a hold of you, you got to say something.
Yeah.
I mean, could you give me a call? I'm probably not going to remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you catch my eye and entertain me, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
I want to know that. Yeah. But so I was going through all these pictures. All these famous people I know from Bill Johnson from fucking Chainsaw Massacre to Pinhead to the Boondock Saints and Norman Reedus holding up my shirts because he's a fan of mine.
Right.
I got all this video. This great life that when I was happy, I didn't hardly do any writing in my journals at all. In fact, I don't even have a journal anymore. But up till I became Demon Hammer famous, I mean, every journal looks like somebody else wrote it, though. Who the hell was I then? I can't read my writing.
Right.
But let alone barely now. I type so much that when I tried to write, I had to kind of teach myself how to rewrite.
Yeah.
Because I type so much, And I'm a maniac. People hear me on the typewriter, and it's just 2 fingers, but it's the fastest 2 fingers in the West.
Right.
Because those are like at the library, hey, dude, I mean, that's a lot of passion you're hitting with. Could you bring it down a little bit, the level?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
right.
sorry, dude.
Kimberly Freeman published her writings.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it's
I haven't
wild.
seen it. I follow her, and I share videos still every day because people need to know about her, man. Her.
What about the lyrics? Where do lyrics come from? Is it
I used to
organic?
Exactly, took the word out of my mouth. To me, I used to want to be a songwriter like my dad. Okay, so I wanted to be a great known songwriter, and then one day I'm on the bus with David Allen Coe. I'm touring with him, and the last week of the tour, he asked me to come on the bus. Otherwise, I drove in a van behind the bus,
Yeah.
And I got to tour with him for 3 months, and it was the greatest thing to get to know an old man who was very bitter and angry. Still,
Well, he is a legend, though. I mean,
no, he's
legendary.
and that's because he's kept his outlaw anger. He still has that, and plus he does care about what people think. But anyways, I'm on the bus with him, and I get on there, and hey, dude, they want you to come on the bus and hang out. So there's people in their party having a good time, and he's just sitting there staring at me, man. I'm like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Are they
We're
gonna
gonna have to fight this guy.
Yeah, or is he going to have these 2 other guys beat the hell out of me?
Sure.
Because he has his rogues that are with him. But you hear that music? I said, yeah, that's my Born Rebel CD. He goes, it's a damn good album, man. Damn good album. You're a good songwriter, but you're not best yet. I got to ask you a question, Chuck. Yeah. Where the hell's your love song, cat boy?
Oh no.
And I was like, yeah. I'm smart ass him. He says, you wrote all the best love songs. Dude, those are my love songs. Have you ever been in love, boy?
Right.
I mean, he just goes off on me. He goes, I give you a year, and I don't hear no love song out of you, then I'm canceling you out. I ain't going to listen to that CD no more. I want to hear a love song out of you, boy.
Wow.
So for the next year, I'm like,
Right
riding around on tours. And I started seeing my relationship with this girl, my youngest boy's mama. I got 3 babies' mamas, so I see it not being. I met her, and everything went up from the time I met her. And she was in love with the idea of having a child with me because she's seen my other kids are beautiful, and she's seen that. I guess it was easy to kick me to the curb later on because she just wanted children. And I'm not ragging on her because she's one of my better friends, and I love her. But everything went up though because she believed in me just a little bit.
Yeah.
And her dad saw that, and he kind of believed in me. And they gave me a chance to breathe and to let my story out on the table. And though a lot of the dates and times didn't mix up, well, from 97 to 2001 is a blackout. I did a lot of drugs trying to kill myself. I didn't think I was worthy to be in this world. And if I was going to be here, then I need to be the scum of the earth, And getting out of prison is really hard. It's hard to stay out and have a job and to find your place here. And the only place I fit in was with music. I could bring a crowd. And whatever I would say back before, I learned how to talk because I didn't know how to. I was a real quiet guy, and the only time I would talk was when I got on stage. And between the songs, I'd say something. And these other people that were kind of junkies or drug addicts or the hoods of the neighborhood, they were hearing about it, and that kind of pulled them out. And they started coming to shows, and then I had this drug culture of people following me. I made a career pretty much based on my drug abuse and my prison life, and how hard it was to maintain some kind of stability out here in this world. They say, what's a musician without a home? A musician without a girlfriend. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had girls that would take care of me. And I love every single one of them with all my heart, and I would do anything for any of them today if I remember them. There's a few, that's the comedy, but there's a few, but most of them, I got 3 babies' mamas, and they, bless their hearts, they are some of the toughest women, and they're still beautiful today. And my kids, we had great kids. They all learned from all that. But David challenged me to write this song about the lyrics, and so for that year, I saw this relationship that was starting to dwindle away, and she was doing things that was out of. I could see that she'd only do like if your woman's getting dressed up for work, and she never did that before. She didn't care how she looked, but all of a sudden she started to wear makeup, different clothes. All of a sudden now she wants a cell phone. And you're like, okay, but she never calls you on it. Then you can see there's something else going on.
Sure.
And though you may ask, they'll lie. Because we've been taught to immediately do that if we're cheating. To lie. Just lie your way out of it. And movies do it. I mean, they teach us this stuff. So I saw this happening, and so I just wanted to try to win her back, you know?
Right.
And so I wrote this song called The Way You Love Me. And, it's the way you hold me, the way you kiss me, the way you touch me, the way you listen to me. Even when you're just pretending, you still pretend to listen. That's love. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't understand what you're saying. You're garbling a bunch of crazy stuff you lived. Mm. But she loved me enough to pretend to listen. Yeah. And so that's what the song consists of. And it got called the Ballad of the Decade for underground ballads, because you don't hear about underground music scene ballads ever. And so this magazine called it that, and I thought, oh my God. Well, I sent it to David, and David got in there, Cooley, you make me happy, boy. I can consider you one of the better songwriters I know. You keep at it. I want to hear some more. I love songs. Love songs are the way. Yeah. That's your way, boy. And I've been told that my whole career. Yeah. Learn how to write a love song. Right. And now I have 19 of them. Wow. And over 17 of them have made it to #1 on Reverb Nation worldwide. The worldwide music charts. And one, as right now, there has been there for 3 years. Yeah. And just our region showing that Oklahoma's got it going on. So.
Well, one thing about your music, it's definitely from the heart. I mean, there's definitely some edge to it, but there's also some depth.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes you can feel some of that pain.
Yeah. The song "Lost" is the one that's got me known, and it made it to the. There's nothing like being the biggest high. I don't care what any musician has to say. I'll challenge them all. If you've never had a crowd singing one of your songs back to you, to the point where you don't even have to sing, then you don't know what the high of being on stage is about. That's what we shoot for. That's what we want. Right. Any original musician wants that. And we get paid nothing in our local towns. We're overlooked. The cities eat their talented artists and make them become something they're not. When you should have just let them rise on their own, or help them and boost them, but don't rob them. And Tulsa has got some great artists here, from art to musicians, but it was all around. Actors. I mean, there's so many great people here. I've taken so many girls just off the street and had them come model because they were so beautiful. I know that they may have had missing teeth, or they've been knocked out, or they've been beat most of their life. But I know this girl, all she needs is one time in front of a professional photographer, and a photo shoot with all these people there, and you're part of a family for a minute. And it's the high you get from these natural highs, that creating art and looking beautiful, that gives them a chance to see themselves in a way they only dreamed of, or maybe never even dreamed of. Yeah. But over 27 girls I brought to Richard Gorman's studio, and we did these really cool photo shoots, and to see how high they would get after. I get high on every one of the photo shoots. Richard Gorman's is one of the baddest legendary. He lives right here in Jinx. He's one of the baddest photographers on the planet. Yeah. His backstory is really cool. You should have him in. Oh yeah. He was Charlie Manson's.
We'll put him on the list.
Yeah, he was Charlie Manson's prison guard for 7 years.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because here's this guy that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I went down a rabbit hole on Manson the other day. I mean, I watched 3 documentaries.
I know everything about him, dude. I wrote him while I was in prison, and he wrote me back. The first thing he wrote me was "fuck off." And that was after writing like 20 times. Yeah. And then the second thing I said, just send me something, man. Just spout some stuff off at me. And he sent me this, like, I don't like to say the word poem. It's weird. To me, poem sounds weak. I don't know why. A poet. If you're going to be a serial killer, you don't grow up saying I want to be a serial killer. You just go out and kill. Yeah. If you're going to write, just write. Just write some stuff, right. And just be a writer, But anyways, I don't know what that thing was. Poetry, it just kind of gets to me. Yeah. But he wrote me this thing, and real quick, and he signed. He says at the end of the thing, he says the head dead man don't need no head man, meaning he don't need no God. He is the God of his destiny. So I took that in the first band I had out of prison. After 8 years of being in prison, I called it the head dead man. Wow. And so I took his cursive, I blew it up, and made my own little font, and put a picture of him that we drew, me and my bass player. And my first shirt I ever had, was The Head Dead Man by Charles Manson, and it was his writing he sent to me. If you really want to read anything or know anything about him, there's only one book to read, and that's The Education of an Outlaw by Charles Manson. through a former cellmate that got out and wrote a story for him.
Right.
Yeah, it's a killer book, and I believe it. I believe what he has to say in it. As probably the only time he was ever going to have a chance to be honest and do it, exclusively like that. And I believe his story in that. He doesn't deny, but he also he he admits that he grew up in the judge's belly, man. I mean,
No, yeah.
he was raised
a life
there.
of being incarcerated.
Yeah.
It wasn't until he was incarcerated in California that he started to figure out that, there's a way through this. There's a path through this.
Yeah. He was just a beatnik, but he found drugs probably really messed him up, probably.
Sure, yeah.
Especially back then. They were.
Oh yeah, it was.
And then all the girls giving away. He found all the rogues on the highway, all these runaways or throwaways, the preacher's kids.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
The whole thing. You don't know Will Livingston, do you? Artist Will Livingston. Will was incarcerated here in Oklahoma, and he did a book live from the cell block.
Oh wow!
And Will does art for musicians. He does like their concert posters.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he's an amazing artist.
Wow, those are badass. I do too, but these are really awesome.
And he did it for.
Where'd you get this book at?
Well, so Boulevard Trash in Tulsa, they sell a copy of it, but I know his parents, and I was trying to get something going because Will was released this January, just a few weeks ago, and
did he make most of these from prison?
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot too.
And he's an incredible artist. I'm trying to get him to come on here. I'd love to talk to him about this book and some of the other stuff he does, but he found his avenue. He found his way through it.
Yeah. That's, to me, art and music saved my life. It's kept me from a life of prison and being a thief and being all the things I had become before I went. And it took me a couple of times in and out, but I was never out very long. And so I just focused on, while I was there, education. And education, it doesn't make sense. If you're not educated, you're going to think with an irrational mind. Yeah. And I learned how to become rational. Also, I have a killer story with Judge Hopper. I don't know if you know who that was, but he was the hanging judge of this.
Yes.
And I have probably the only story on the planet of his one good deed that he actually did. He did something for me that I've never heard that he did with anybody else. And how this story with him would come into play later on with some of his family, that, like his granddaughter, who adored him, and he adored her. But all the stories she'd ever heard was all these horrific stories of him giving massive time out to his own kid, to everyone that was around him. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if many people ever saw him without his judge robe on. I got to meet the real man, and he challenged me before he sentenced me. He asked me, I got to do it like he did it. He goes, Mr. Cooley, do you know what right and wrong was when you did these hideous crimes? And I thought about all the guys that stood there before me and all the ones after he might ask that too. And then I looked over to the crowd. Wait, there's nobody there but my sister and my mom. The only people there. Mm-hmm. The only day they come to visit me was to see me convicted. Mm-hmm. I thought, I need to say something that's going to embarrass the hell out of them. And then I thought about right and wrong. Yeah, Judge, I know what right and wrong are. Right is pleasure, wrong is pain. And he did this like when a little pug dog looks at you like that. He was looking at me like that, and he looked over at his girl. You got that? She goes, I got that. That's a good one, Judge. That's a good one. And I'm like, oh, shit. He goes, you know what? I got an idea. Boy, when you get done with your sentence, you're not going to get out like all your buddies do. You're not going to go back to the free world. You're going to come right back here where you started. Mm. If it's on a Friday, you're going to sit the whole weekend in my jail. And then you're going to come tell me what right and wrong is. I don't care how long it takes. And he kept his word. They released me on accident, had me report the next day, and then locked me back up and took me back to prison. After messing with my head like that, right. Yeah. I thought I was getting away with that shit. Yeah. No, they got that, and then they sent me back to jail. A couple of months later, they sent me back to jail, and I went in there, and he didn't recognize me. He barely remembered the situation. Because I have full sleeves tattoos, and then I was a kid and didn't have any. Mm. And he's like, next time you're in my courtroom, you need to wear long sleeves. I said, I have long sleeves on. Don't you be a smart ass with me, boy. I see all these people behind you. If you turn me into a dick, I'm just going to be bad on them. Mm. Oh, so he was weighing. Yeah. So what's right and wrong? And I said, Judge, look, I just got out. All I can say is that if I do right, I know that there's got to be, if there's people around, they're going to see me do the right thing. And it's about influencing them to do what's right too. But if I'm doing the wrong and there's people around that, even so they may be good people, I might influence them to do the wrong. I know that I don't want to do what's wrong because I want to impress everybody I know with doing what's right. And I didn't care before, and now I do. That's a start. You got 2 more years with me, so I'll see you next month. On the day I last saw Judge Hopper, I was told the day before that I had good news and bad news from a parole officer. And we were in the middle of recording Berserker's album. And he said, well, I got some good news and bad news. What do you want to hear? I said, well, good news. Well, you're off parole. Yeah, I know it's early, isn't it? I said, yeah, a couple of years. He goes, the sad thing is you weren't ever supposed to have been on it, son. You were supposed to have discharged. You had done enough good time and had it. But the sad thing is that we're not giving none of your money back that you've been giving us.
Wow.
It was, thousands of dollars,
Sure.
So I didn't care because it kept me doing the right thing.
Yeah.
He said, by the way, where are you at right now? I said, I'm recording. I'm signed with a record company. 8 months out of prison, and I'm with a band, and we're signed, and we're doing a record right now. He goes, is that out of town? I said, you can get me on that one. I'm not on parole no more. He was going to mess with me. But so he goes, well, the judge wants to see you one more time. So I got to go in and watch the judge take me and turn me around and make me face the crowd with my hands out to the side. I didn't have to put them on my back, He goes, Oklahoma, that's the first time I ever had to do this. And it was packed.
Yeah.
He goes, you all go tell people you saw Judge Hopper do this because right now I'm going to apologize for the state of Oklahoma to this young man right here because we did him wrong.
Wow.
We took a bunch of his money. You know, Mr. Cooley, you're not getting none of that back. I said, I know, Judge, and I don't care. I'm just glad to be a free man. And he goes, well, you know what right and wrong is. I can tell now. I said, it's called rational thinking. That's where you get right and wrong. And you just got to have a heart. If you don't have a heart, you're never going to think right.
Right.
And to me, you got to know how to balance them both because you'll stay in a relationship that is brutal, that's not right, but because you have this desire that they're going to change, and they're going to see your love miraculously one day. Because they're not, because they're still trying to get over somebody else that's in love with somebody else. That's in love with somebody else. It's rebound after rebound, and no one's healing.
Yeah.
And without that, we've been told you can't be alone. You won't survive. You won't live. All I wanted was to be alone before I got with my wife, and she's the only person I ever married. I've had 3 babies' mamas, but she was older than me. I never dated somebody older. It was weird. She looked like a grandma at the time. I was like, I'm not dating you. I'm not. What the heck? Get away from me, woman. And I tried to ditch her, and get rid of her. You got to hear the story when we tell it together. It's pretty funny because she's so sweet and quiet.
Right.
There's not one person on this world that don't love Tess. Chuk Cooley is the baddest woman on this planet. And if anybody wanted to clone themselves after somebody, it would be her. Now her daughters would think differently about that, but of course they do.
Right.
Yeah, but she's watching her grow from this quiet person to having a voice because she's a ventriloquist too, and she is badass.
Wow.
She has little Chuck, and he's the little version of me.
Ah, okay.
But he's a smart ass,
Yeah.
and when you watch, everybody comes over. People come to our room just to see her do this thing.
Yes.
And because she's so good at it. This puppet gave her a life to speak on her own. Now she'll tell you what she feels, and it's she just shut up sometimes. Yeah. But this little Chuck is he thinks he's the real me.
Yeah.
I'm the puppet.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing, and then because we're getting close on time. You mentioned that throughout your life you've had some paranormal type experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think we're dealing with there? What do you?
This is my understanding. I thought I knew what a ghost was until my friend John Tinsley died. I knew John as this guy that he never said whether he believed in God or the devil, but I remember one time he wanted me to tattoo on him. And this house that we were living in was haunted. When you take a shower through that white noise, you would hear someone brutally, a woman being butchered, screaming to death. Oh my God! And I would get out of the shower and go look. And she would always imitate whatever woman I was around last. And so all my friends that would come in and out of there lived in it. It was a party house, and they would all experience these things with me waking up or going and looking for this tall guy that lived down in the den, to a man that had no legs, who had lost him in the war, And he'd always sing Scooby Doo to me. It was weird. This guy would sit out underneath a tree, and he may know that he was a ghost. He was messing with me, and I'm thinking, man, the drugs are really good, you know. And I tell my friends, just tell me to shut up if y'all think they're telling me this and they're telling me that, and they would say, no, dude, I'm not telling you to shut up. Keep going. Some of them would start recording me because they believed it.
Yeah.
Now I've been under psychiatric. I've been in 3 mental wards, okay, and I've said the stories that all those crazies that get their pills said, but they didn't give me those pills. And I asked them why. Because we believe you. Now that's something to think about, and that's a true story. Like, okay, I'm special. Great. Ghoster, when I was tattooing on my friend John, he wanted me to put Born Loser across his stomach. I said, John, I'm not putting that on you because I love you, dude. But I'm going to put something I put in his image. While we're tattooing, he goes, stop. Well, in the white noise of the gun, he said, I can hear it. And dude, it changed his life that day. And since that day, he could hear things. And he's dead now. But he passed on. And so he came to me as I'm writing this song about him. I mean, he's the only friend. I mean, I have a lot of best friends, I get to say. More than 2 handfuls. You know, many people get to say that in their life. But he was one of them, and he's one I cried really a lot over because I felt like he got cheated out of life. Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, but here he is. He pops up next to me, and what he's got this like from here down is like it's like a drifting mesh, like a potato sack, kind of from you can't really see what's there, but you could see his face, and you could see that he was allowed to have his long hair again. And he said, they asked me the best part, what version of me that I like the best. I said, who's they? He goes, I don't know who they are, but they were there, and they asked me how I wanted to look, that I didn't get to go to heaven or hell, because I didn't understand any of that. So I had one choice, either not to exist or to come and watch you guys and have to live with that. Wow. And I'm like, whoa. He said, now finish my song. And he's like telling me, quit being a pussy, you know.
Right.
Tell me to write this song. And so I got to write this killer song for him called The King of the Homeless. Because he ended up being a homeless guy that lived in a tent in people's backyards. He would sit with 2 dogs, 2 beautiful dogs that he raised. They took the place of his 2 boys that his wife took, and he lived this crazy life, hopping trains and getting kicked out of Canada twice, and all POD's bus for not calling him, you're not Christians, and because you're all doing coke, and he called them out, and they kicked him off the bus. And he snuck back on, and they kicked him off again. I think they knocked one of his teeth out too. So yeah. By the time that John died, he died from a hot shot that some young kid gave him for having his bicycle too long. And he told the kid, look, I'll keep it next time. And the kid's like, oh really? So the kid went and gets a hot shot, gives it to him. By the time he got down to, he would sit in front of Family Dollar. He would never ask for a dime. He never had to, because people would see those 2 dogs in that shopping cart with him. He would just sit and wear Star Wars books. They would just give him money. He said, Chuck, you need to come document my life, dude, for just a couple of days. You see how I make money. I never even have to ask. On good days, I make $600. So why don't you get a hotel room, dude, and take a bath? Yeah. You know, quit going to your friend's house and stealing their shit, you know? And the day he died, he blacked out in front of the Family Dollar, and he fell and hit his face, and it crushed his nose. And the lady there at the store knew him. She's like, oh my God. And she said he came to, and he says, she goes, what do I do, John? What do I do? He goes, well, there's no need to call an ambulance. And then he died. He obviously, whatever happened in that blackout part, he saw that it was over. No more pain. Yeah. And so he comes to me while I'm sitting there writing this song. And I've seen some ghosts very clear, everything in detail, what they're wearing. Walking their dog that was dead, that died with them. You know, they were first coming to me, it was if they wanted to speak to me, you'll never see them speak. But you ever seen that picture where it shows a guy seeing a ghost for the first time? He's like, ah, right. And you see the ghost, and it looks like the ghost is going woo, but he's not. He's going ah, because they scare each other. You see me, I see you. Oh my God, yeah, that's what that picture should be, and that's exactly when you see these things, you think it's a curse at first, that you're burdened with this thing. And a lot like the little kid that sees Dad, that's pretty real. Yeah. They got that from somewhere. Yeah. People just don't make up shit, or they'll have a dream that's so real look at Steven Spielberg. His story. Have you seen his life story there yet? On Showtime, that movie? Yeah, it's a killer, crazy movie, but yeah, he had a weird life too.
Oh, yeah.
But
All that stuff comes from somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes from somewhere. I mean, our whole deal is, why do we exist, okay? Who knows and who cares? We're here. Let's embrace this and roll with it. There's a loss of love between people, and they would rather have hate and anger, because all I want is freedom from my pain. If I got just one chance in my life to have freedom and go do what I want to do, and well, you've been given that chance 5 times, and what did you say every time? It's too good to be true. And I tell you, no, you're not strong enough to handle the truth yet. So embrace the only thing you own, your pain.
Yeah.
And that's that. And people you got to learn how to see that moment. It's true. If it's too good to be true, you better embrace it, because that may be your only chance to get it.
That might be it.
Yeah. I've got to say a few times in my life, and after hearing that, and I realized, oh, you're a pussy, man. You just can't take it. Yeah, here it is being offered to you, and you're afraid you're going to let them down.
Yeah.
Or let yourself down.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. That's understandable.
Yeah.
But
man, I think we talk ourselves out of more opportunities than anyone on the outside of our own brains.
I think I have to say, man, thank you for your show, dude, and thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you for calling me up, because I strived and starved for mental stimulation, and this is the most I've had in 10 years.
Good.
So,
yeah. Listen, I don't want this to be the one-off. I want you to come back.
I'm definitely, If we could stay focused, I keep us focused on one.
No, I'm the worst. I'm the worst. As far as hosts go, I'm probably the worst staying on topic, because I got so much I want to.
Well, you have an open mind, so you float to each topic like it ain't nothing. As far as music goes in Tulsa's music scene, I have this little plan that I'm going to try and do, because a friend of mine came up to me. He says, Chuck, you were the music scene. You were the one that pulled all the bands together, showed them how to make flyers, showed them how to promote. And where you learn how to do that, I learned in prison. Some guy told me how to do it. If I'm going to get out and go do a tattoo, what do? You go to a bar and you find someone to tattoo on for free, and you tattoo on them, and then they come show their tattoo off there, and one by one. And then you have a tattoo party, and next thing you know, you're tattooing a bunch of people. Now you're making money, and unless meth gets involved, and that will screw everything.
Yeah. Well, tattooing is addictive. That's for sure. I mean, I've got my share.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not sleeved out, but
you want to even it up, don't you?
And there's always one more. There's always just one more.
I tell people this: if you're going to get a tattoo, make sure it's big, because big will cover for a while. Right. It will cover it for a while.
And it's expensive too. It's not. I mean, art is not cheap.
No,
good art's not cheap.
No, it's not, dude. All that stuff costs money to buy. And I was the guy that wrote the article, yet again, for my community. I've never been the local music guy that was just a local musician. I took whatever I had in my fame, and I used it to right my wrongs. Yeah. Like they say, you got to do. Yep. If you go to prayer, I wanted to leave this world with a clean slate, knowing that I didn't lie to you. I told the truth when I was falling down. I told you why. If you didn't come and aid me, maybe it wasn't meant to be, because I am a bad motherfucker, and I will stand up again. Yep. And getting respect is hard to get, and when you lose it, it's hard to get back. Yep. And when you've done that 2 to 3 times, Tulsa's been bitter with me this time. But it's okay, because on my birthday, on January 7th, when we held it, after 12 years, I have a knowing there from going to packed clubs where the line stood outside the club a block, where people had to wait to get in to see my shows. Now they showed back up finally. Wow. I kind of begged, but yeah.
One day before Elvis's birthday, by the way.
My birthday is actually December 23rd, but no one wants to come see a band on
Christmas,
or right there, with all that money being spent around that time. So I do it a week after New Year's and a half for years, and I like it better that way. I don't expect presents. I just expect people to be present.
Yeah. My oldest daughter's January 4th, so
Capricorns.
She knows the pain. If our fans around the world want to check your music out, where do they go?
I'm on Spotify. I'm on all those things. Right now, they just took off 3 of my albums because of Reverb Nation. I'm in a battle with them right now. But you can go to reverbnation.com/Chuk Cooley 1. Or just Google Chuk Cooley and give them on YouTube. I got over 72 videos on there. I make videos for other people. We have a reality show called Chuck and Tess Adventures, but it's actually called, they changed it to the Cooley Rebels, and it's about me and my wife and how we live, going from homeless to standing up at this hotel and somehow keeping our band together. It's a crazy little story, and how we stay positive through all that.
Whatever your plan is for the future and Tulsa music scene, make us a part of it, will you?
You got that, man. I try to utilize anything I can. Right now, I need this. I don't believe in comebacks. I just believe you can keep showing you kick ass.
Yeah.
And I'm 54, and I work in the oil fields now, and I do that, and it's the only job I really ever had besides music and tattooing and art. I have all these paintings I do that they sell. People love dark art. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But
we got to get a Cooley original up in here.
Next time I come out here, I'll bring it.
Absolutely.
Because this wasn't hard to find. And the thing I was like, we got to go there and there.
Is it weird coming to someone's house to do this? I mean,
well, these are my.
Is this guy going to kill me or like what's going on?
That's funny you say that because just the other day I had this. I have haters that send me this macabre, crazy stuff about people coming to get me, and when I was winning all the awards, all the haters that came out then, they were painting our house and saying absurd things, knocking our windows out. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Fame is a scary thing. It really is. Yeah. But it's also a great thing to walk into a grocery store you go to every week for years, and one day you have $300 worth of groceries, and they say, you need to wait here, Mr. Cooley. And I'm like, whoa. I'm looking at my kid. Did you steal something? No, Dad, I didn't steal nothing. And then there are three guys in suits come walking toward me, and they're like, Mr. Cooley, we don't mean to embarrass you right now, but the things that you've done for your community and stuff, we would like to pay for your groceries right now. That happened three different times. I was like, wow, Research, I love you. You've been going into places and people giving you half price off on a guitar that costs $1,000. I get it for $400 or $500.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm like, wow. But when I screwed up and told everybody I was leaving the scene and going back to drugs, they were taking the guitars down. They were like, it was like watching Tommy Morrison fall from Spiral. And me and Tommy were friends. I tattooed Tommy even after they said he had it. And from what I understand about that he never even had it. They never even tested him for it. He died of leukemia, which is a blood disorder, and his wife is out doing a march on it right now.
Wow.
So the story of Tommy can be heard. When people ask me to tattoo on him, it's like, it's a celebrity, but he's got HIV. I said, dude, I'm a professional. Right. I know I'm not going to be poking myself with his needles afterwards, I wear gloves, man. I mean, he was a great guy, man. I mean, he was a really, really cool dude. Yeah. One of the coolest dudes out of Oklahoma, I have to say.
Yeah, for sure.
He was cool. Well, plus, he got to hang with the great Sly Stallone.
He's
my hero, dude.
Who was in Tulsa not too long ago during the summer.
Tulsa King, yeah.
Tulsa King, yeah.
And that show's doing really well right now.
It's doing great, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but yeah.
My youngest was an extra in that show.
All I know is my guitar player got tattooed by this guy named Leospher, who's known worldwide from Paris. My guitarist got money, and so he flew this guy in 5 sessions into America. Well, one of those times they're at a place, a convention doing it, and he says this entourage of huge dudes come walking up at the foot of the bed where he's laying. And he says all of a sudden they part ways, and there's little Stallone comes out. He's a little big. And he said, Stallone, dude, the Italian stallion, Rocky, was standing at the foot of my bed, dude. And so you see these pictures of his phone. He's got like down here, like of these crazy blurred pictures of Stallone talking to the tattoo artist, because the tattoo artist he's like supposedly one of the biggest fans. He's got the biggest collection of Stallone stuff.
Wow.
And Stallone heard that he wanted some tattoo work by him, but he also heard this, so he brought him all these cool gifts and stuff.
That's awesome.
And he said, Chuck, here's a satanic looking dude with crazy dreads and horns and stuff, skin fragments coming out of his head, and crying like a little baby because here he finally gets to meet Stallone.
Right,
he could barely tattoo me. He was all shaking all over the place. I was like, yeah, that's pretty.
Well, let's do this again, Chuck.
Cool.
Let's do it again, man.
You got to hear some stories I had about Robert Englund and stuff I have.
Oh, yeah, shoot, man. That's...
Elvira and Michael Austin Green and all these famous stars I got to party with, and these little stories that I have with them are pretty cool. They're priceless. Yeah.
No, I'm all in on that. We'll do it soon too.
Cool.
We'll do it soon.
Thank you so much for your show, man. I love it, and I'll promote the hell out of it.
That's Chuk Cooley, everybody. You guys go look him up, follow him. He's on the social medias, Instagram. All that good stuff.
Everything,
YouTube.
Yeah.
Go like all that stuff, and then
just spell Chuck right.
Yeah.
1 C.
One C. With K on the end. So go look it up, and then shoot us a message. And if you've got something that you want us to relay to Chuck, let us know, and we'll certainly do that. All right? Thanks, everybody.
Fist raised high.